Okay, so I want to be clear about something. If you're not seeing the help tag, that's because you need to enable show help tags inside of the preferences display general tab, enable show help tags. And while you're at it, go ahead and show default values. What this is going to do for you is allow you to see numbers within the inspectors. And why don't we go ahead and disable these last two to save you a little bit of CPU? All right, with that being said, I want to clarify a couple of things about Snap. The Logic Pro Power User System declares that if you stay within bar beat division ticks, that can be of service to you. Inside of Nudge, you can utilize bar beat division tick. Something else to consider is to utilize 10 ticks whenever it is necessary. There are times that you're going to have to get off of the grid, and so this will help tremendously. One more thing to consider, if I hover over the Snap menu, you can see that there is a small power icon here, and I can essentially remove myself and rid myself of the Snap to Grid system. And that's something that I'm going to want to utilize from time to time. And so you might as well take the time to learn to turn off Snap to Grid. In my case, Control G. If you want to customize that, go ahead. And that's something that you can do when you need to perhaps slightly move something a little bit off the grid. And I have other ways to do this as well. I just want to inform you, and then you can adopt whatever method works for you. Okay, when working with Snap to Grid, you understand the mathematical computation, how it works. Now I need you to understand when to apply it. You can use this when resizing regions, when moving regions, such as you see in the illustration on the screen here. We can resize, move regions, move MIDI events. Obviously, we can resize MIDI events as well. Another instance when you can utilize Snap to Grid is when creating marquee selections and also when creating cycle regions. So let's start from the top. Resizing and moving regions and MIDI events. So I currently have my Snap to Grid set to bar, and I will resize this specific region. In fact, let me go ahead and just move it out of the way. So now you're looking at an instance of Snap while using bar, and while continuing to use bar, I will hover over the bottom right or the bottom left of the region and then resize this every bar. So that's one system. Now let's put our attention over to the nudge value. It too is set to bar. And so if I hit Option left arrow key, I can send this back to its rightful place, which is bar 5. So that's another way to think about it. If I double click this region, brings me into the piano roll, and the same applies here. Let's say this region is double its size, and I want to move these over, but not per bar, but per beat. Please bear in mind that there is an independent Snap menu for the piano roll, as you can see here, and that differs from the same menu that's available in the tracks area. So the settings inside of here will directly influence all the decisions I make inside of the piano roll. So when I click and hold and I drag this over to the right, you will see that I am moving per beat, and that is corroborated when you look at the help tag. If you're not clear about the help tag, if you look at my screen and I click and hold, there it is right there. You can see that the position is changing over time. The first number is bar, the second number is beats, and that's what we're utilizing here to move this over like so. All right, let's nudge these over now. We will keep the same measurement, beats, and I'll just nudge this over like so. Let's resize this. We want to make the second and fourth MIDI events here shorter. And so I will select those. I will select division and resize accordingly. Same thing with the fourth set. I will resize accordingly. And now when we hear this chord Structured, it sounds like this. All right, let's hit Command Z. What else can we do? Well, not only can we resize and move regions and MIDI events, but we can create marquee selections and cycle regions. You guys know that the 1-2 punch, the preferred 1-2 punch is the pointer tool, which is the primary tool, and the secondary tool as the marquee tool, simply because it does so many different things. And so what I'm going to do here is create a marquee selection. And when I do that, guess what? I am utilizing bar in my snap to grid mode. I can change that over to grid, and you can see that I am now using divisions. So for now, start learning how to create marquee selections, and let's move over to cycle regions. I can also create a cycle region based on my snap to grid. I know for me, it used to be so frustrating when I didn't know what was going on here. And I would try and create a cycle region, and it was never perfect. And so nothing ever looped perfectly. It always just felt like an uphill climb. And so now that I understand the laws of logic, I'm better able to operate with them and under them. And so when I have snap to grid set to bar, I don't even have to think about this. And there are other reasons for this, which I'll go over later. But I'm going to click and hold. And because I am already set to snap to grid, it's doing the work for me. It's doing the computing for me. And this is why this system really will make a grand difference, because every decision you make, whether it's critical or insignificant, will be precise. And that's what we want when we're putting in the hours. There are times when you simply will not be alert, you'll be underslept, you'll be X, and we want to make sure that you are prepared and ready, and that you have developed the right habits so that when it's time to get to work and be effective, that you are covered. So go ahead and play with that snap to grid. Try resizing, moving regions, MIDI events, create marquee selections utilizing snap to grid, and then finally create cycle regions.